Hey guys, Justin here for S&S Archery, and in today's gear video we're going to show you how to make all of the axis adjustments on a black gold sight. So in this video we're going to cover the first, second, and third axis adjustments. Alright guys, getting right into this video. One of the most important things that we can do to help our accuracy is get everything leveled up on our bow prior to sighting in. Now, if you're only shooting 20-30 yards, you're probably not going to notice much of a difference. That is until you get out to 60, 70, 80 yards. So that's where these adjustments come in, especially that third axis adjustment. Anytime we're shooting a long ways and it's steep downhill or uphill, that's where that really comes in. So this process is going to be pretty much the same on all the black gold models, and it doesn't really matter what base you have, whether it's a quick link, the new bridge lock dovetail, or the wing truss like I'm going to be showing you today. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, now as far as some of the items that you're going to need in order to get these axis adjustments set up is obviously you need something that holds your bow. Now if you don't have a bow vise like I have here, what you can do is you can actually take your bowstring and put it in the corner of a wall. So you could come into the corner of the wall like this and have somebody hold it for you as you're checking level on everything. So it's not the best method. I would definitely have somebody help you if you're going to use the wall. Basically putting it in the corner wall like this, you can have somebody hold the bow while you check this axis adjustment. Ideally you have some kind of press, some way to know that your bow is 100% level. The next thing you're going to need is some kind of level for your string. I was able to pick this up off of like Amazon, super cheap. It also came with your arrow level as well. And then you also need some kind of level to level the actual sight itself. So a couple options. We have the Hamskea Gen 2 Pro. This tool is fantastic. If you're going to be doing a lot of leveling, highly suggest checking one of these out. Or you can just go the simple route. Take one of your levels from your home, break out the middle with just one of the bubble levels and use that as well. So you do have a couple options there. To get started, the first thing we need to do is obviously mount the sight. The next step is making sure the bowstring is level. So very simple. Put on that string level here. Now I'm only really concerned right now with the pitch of the bow, the lean basically. So I want to make sure this string is perfectly straight up and down. So when I look at my top of my level, I want that running parallel with my bow, which is really close. So I'm happy there. So once the string is level, it's time to level up the actual sight itself. So on the top of your base right here, basically, this is where this tool comes in handy. You can slide it right over the top and just tighten it up, and that's going to give you a nice level spot. Like I said, if you don't have one of these, you can go ahead and put like a little carpenter's level there and use one of those. Obviously these ones aren't held on there, so if you move the bow too much it'll fall, but it will work as long as it's perpendicular with the sight. So if I look down between this bubble and this Hamskea tool on top, I've got the bubble is almost all the way up to the top side, so I need to make an adjustment on the body of the sight. So that's going to pitch it, which is my first axis adjustment. So you can see there the bubble level is not quite centered, so I know that the actual base and everything needs to come down just a little bit. Now to make that adjustment, what I need to do is I need to loosen the two main bolts that are holding basically the rail system to the dovetail. So I'm going to loosen that up just a little bit. Crack that loose, and then here on the newer sights there's a little Allen screw, a little chrome screw right here on the side. Now if your sight doesn't have this, what you're going to have to do is basically just move it over with your hand. This is kind of a micro adjustment, so just going to reach in and start to turn. Just by turning this little screw, you're going to see that bubble come right to the middle there. You can just fine tune it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to those bolts and just snug them up just a little bit and make sure it doesn't move on me. And if it's still in the same position, you can go ahead and tighten it down the rest of the way. All right, so once you've made that adjustment, I would advise go back and check your level on your string. Make sure everything looks good before you move to the second step. Just to verify, we don't want when we go to adjust the bubble level on the actual scope housing, we don't want it to lie to us just because something was off. So re-verify, make sure everything's level, which it looks perfect. So the next step, we're going to go ahead and move the sight ring up here on the front of the black golds. So now that the bow sight is leveled to our string, we can go ahead and take off this top level. Now we're going to be focused on the bubble level on the scope housing. So as we're looking down range, if this bubble level's off, our pins are going to be cantered. So we want to make sure that that bubble we're looking down is perfect. So all you do is reach up, loosen the ring. Now we're just going to make some small adjustments to try to get this to come back to level. So you can see just by moving it just a tiny bit made it move. Once it's close, go ahead and snug it up just a little bit. Take a look. It's really close. The last thing I'm going to do here is go back, verify the string is level, and look at this bubble and see if they match. So like I said, we're just re-verifying this looks level, and the bubble level on the ring looks good. So I like where that's at. So now to move on to the third axis adjustment. All right, so now that we have our first and second axis all leveled up to our bowstring, it's time to do our third axis adjustment. This is a little bit trickier than the other two steps, but it's really not that bad. First thing you're going to need is an arrow release. We're basically going to pull back, and then I'll kind of demonstrate what I'm looking for as I'm setting this up. So we can go ahead and remove the level. Now the whole idea with this is basically we know everything's level. What we're going to do is we're going to pull back and be perfectly leveled, and then put our pins basically right on a line. So if you don't have a line in your house, you can look at a door frame. Here, the corner of the wall is what I'll end up using. But basically, we're just going to come to full draw. We're going to put our pins right in line on the wall, and then we're going to go all the way down to about a 45-degree angle. In that, you're going to look at your bubble level on the scope housing and see what it does. If it stays right in the middle with all your pins lined up, you know you're set. If not, we're going to have to make a small adjustment. So we'll go ahead and check this out. We'll go ahead and set it up. All right, so once I've established which line I'm going to do, I'm just going to come to full draw. Nice and leveled up. I'm going to go ahead and drop down to about a 45-degree angle, take my top pin and my very bottom pin and put them right on that line. And then I'm going to look at my bubble and see what it's doing. So it's just on the left side of the line, so I know I need to make an adjustment. All right, the first thing we need to do to make a third axis adjustment is there's a lock screw right here. We need to crack that loose, back it out just a little bit, and then we can turn to the other side of the bow. So now that the locking screw is loose on the back side, I can go ahead and make the adjustment. If I turn this screw right here clockwise, it's going to pitch the housing in. If I turn it counterclockwise, it's going to pitch it out. So I'm going to go ahead, my bubble was on the left side, I'm going to turn it just a little bit. One note on this screw here, don't turn it more than a half turn on the factory settings. So there's a sticker on here, it's going to warn you about that. So I don't need to retighten that set screw. I can go back and do the same process, test, come to full draw, and then lean down that straight line and see where my bubble is now. Another area where this level comes in handy from Hamskea is when we're setting the third axis adjustment. For some people, they have a 3-pin or even single pin sights, so to actually take your pins and put them in the corner of a wall would be extremely tough. Here, this longer bar, I can use the top of it and the very bottom to put it on that line. So the more area or the bigger the pin gap, the easier it is to see and set up. So just keep that in mind. If you guys have a single pin or a double pin, or even a triple or a 3-pin, it might be smart to get one of these tools. All right, so same process as before. We're going to come to our wall, draw back, level up the bow, make sure we're good. and then drop down to about 45 degrees. Put our pins in line with the wall, and look at the bubble. And it is just absolutely perfect. So just that slight adjustment made my bow's third axis be right on, so I know I'm good. If you guys are in that same situation where your bubble is on the left side, what you can do is turn that screw clockwise, and it's just going to pitch that housing in just a little bit. It's going to pretty much be the same as mine, really. So if it is on the right side of the bubble level, turn it counterclockwise. So the last thing you need to do is just tighten up the set screw, and then you are pretty much set. So first, second, third axis on a black gold. If you guys have any more questions about this video or anything that we've done in the past, please feel free to give us a call, shoot us an email. We'd be glad to help. And thanks for watching.